The Republican field heads into their final debate of the calendar year in just a couple of hours. Joining me now on the phone is one of the men who will appear on the main debate stage tonight, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator Paul, thanks for holding there for me for a few minutes. Let me quickly ask your reaction to how L.A. handled today's threat, and how would you have handled this as president?
Well, I don't like to second guess. People have to make decisions, based on limited amount of facts. And so, people erring on the side of caution and closing down the schools, far be it from me to come and lecture them on whether that's a good or a bad idea. I think these are difficult decisions, and I think it's, sad that we have these kind of things occurring, and I wish it weren't so, but I don't see an easy way to say how we're going to make it better, or how we're going to have less of this.
One of the things that you were talking about in your in one of your emails a couple days ago, and you were trying to make sure you made this main debate stages, you were a little bit frustrated about Trump, and you said, hey, if I could get the same amount of media time as Trump, I'd be up there too. But then how do you explain Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio? How have they moved up under the same conditions that you've had to deal with?
Well, I think the polls are still very fluid. There are people moving up and down, and I think it's basically an argument for why the election's still wide open. But I guess some of our frustration is just that we shouldn't act as if it's decided. We also shouldn't act as if polls really are science. The polls have been really getting increasingly inaccurate. In our state, they had our Democrat winning our governor's race in the last week by 5 points, and the Republican won by 8 points. So they were 13 points off in the last week. So I would hate to think that we are basing who's either in debates or who can be covered or who can run for president on something that really isn't science. But because it has numbers, some people mistake it for math.
And I guess the final question I have for you before you go and for more debate prep is, look, there is some conventional wisdom out there that says as this has become more of a terrorism campaign, national security focus, that it hurts you because your libertarian views are at odds with some of the security policy positions that other Republicans have. What do you say to that criticism?
I would argue the opposite. I think people like Hillary Clinton and Marco Rubio, who want regime change in Libya, Syria, Iraq, that the regime change has actually made us less safe. And now that you have a failed state in Libya, a third of Libya pledges allegiance to ISIS. People like Marco Rubio and Hillary Clinton made that worse by giving us a chaos and a failed state there. So I would argue the opposite. I would also argue that people like Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush, and others have not been for strong enough border security. And all the people who have come to attack us so far have come here through our legal immigration system. And I think it needs to be reformed and needs more scrutiny. And really, I think that's where the blame is deserved, not on those of us who want to still continue to have the Fourth Amendment and have privacy.
All right. Senator Rand Paul, look forward to the debate tonight. We'll be watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.